Welcome to the race, Tim Walz. Let's make sure America knows who you are. You helped ignite the George Floyd riots, the worst the country had ever seen in decades. While Minneapolis burned, you stalled on deployment of the National Guard for an entire day, blaming the city for not submitting the right paperwork. You let your daughter leak the Guard's deployment plans online so that rioters would know how long they had to loot the city with impunity. Minneapolis is a war zone because of you. Just days after the attempted murder of Donald Trump, you called him and his supporters fascists, egging on the same rhetoric that led him to being shot in the first place. You have overseen some of the most radical youth trans surgery laws in the country. Under your leadership, teenagers can get their breasts chopped off and get sterilized, and your government calls it health care. You have the most radical abortion laws in the country, zero limits. Every year, 5 to 6 babies are born alive and then murdered legally under laws you support. On immigration, you famously said you wanted to provide a ladder so invaders can come over Trump's wall. You are a radical open border zealot. Also during COVID, you approved $500 million in hero pay for frontline workers, only to have 40% of that money go to people who were ineligible or, in many cases, literally deceased. In the White House, you were Pelosi's sidekick and did whatever the Democrats demanded. You will try to disguise yourself as a folksy Midwestern moderate. In reality, you are a white male version of Kamala Harris, radical, inept, undeserving to be in leadership.
Violating Minnesota State Statute 609.50.
Harris sending this out on X. If you're able to chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota.
Thanks to Harris's promotion, the group reportedly raised $35 million in just a few weeks.
Darnica Floyd, charged with second-degree murder for stabbing a friend to death. And she got out of jail, too. A twice-convicted rapist, currently charged with kidnapping and sexual assault, and he walks out, too.
The Freedom Fund raked in donations when it was promoted by many, including now Vice President Kamala Harris.
Sean Michael Tillman shot and killed a passenger on a train platform after reportedly being released from jail 3 weeks prior. All thanks to the Minnesota Freedom Fund.
Donovan Boone was charged with breaking into the home of an ex-girlfriend and choking her. Freedom Fund bailed him out for $3,000 cash, and he hasn't shown up for court since.
I often don't even look at a charge specifics when I bail someone out.
The Hennepin County attorney called out the Minnesota Freedom Fund for bailing Mosley out of jail twice previously, even though he was arrested for having a gun in the courthouse.
The Minnesota Freedom Fund, which pays cash bail for low-income criminals, paid Tims's entire $10,000 bail in cash.
11 days later, police found a man bleeding from the head and ears in this alley. Police were able to arrest Tims in connection to this violent assault.
Howard was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The Minnesota Freedom Fund acknowledged supporting Howard's bail.
And then I started taking a look at what was going on. And right now, with the Democrat trifecta, they are hurting Minnesota. They are hurting public safety. They are hurting our economy. People are leaving in droves. Crime is up. You've seen what's happened with our governor in the media. You're finding out that he is not, Uncle Timmy like Minnesota folks would like you to think he is.
What could be weirder than signing a bill into law that requires schools to stock tampons in boys' bathrooms? Or weirder than signing legislation allowing minors to receive sex change operations? Try electing the man who signed those bills, Vice President of the United States. Enter Chief Weirdo Tim Walz. As governor of Minnesota, Walz supported legislation that endangers minors, hurts women, and puts radical ideology ahead of common sense. Now Kamala wants Walz to enforce those laws on a national scale. Tim Walz, too weird, too radical.
The Stolen Valor Act of 2013 is a federal law that makes it illegal to falsely claim to have received certain military awards in order to gain money, property, or other benefits. The law was passed by the 113th United States Congress and signed by President Barack Obama on June 3, 2013. The law protects military awards such as the Congressional Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Navy Cross, Air Force Cross, Silver Star, Purple Heart, Combat Action Badge, and Combat Action Ribbon. It also makes it illegal to fraudulently wear medals, embellish rank, or lie about military service to obtain employment, discounts, or other benefits. The law includes a caveat that the lies must result in some kind of tangible benefit before they can be considered illegal. This helps to focus the law on fraudulent activity that isn't protected by the First Amendment.
Verified documents show the Army corrected his service record. Walz was reduced in rank to an E8 Master Sergeant after retirement and his conditional promotion. Alpha News again asked Governor Walz if he's using the Command Sergeant Major rank on his campaign website for political gain this year.
It's stolen valor is really what it is. I don't know of anybody else that's done what he's done.
Recognizing a communist, physical appearance counts for nothing. If he openly declares himself to be a communist, we take his word for it.
Federal ban on price gauging on food.
If a person consistently reads and advocates the views expressed in a communist publication, he may be a communist.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
If a person supports organizations which reflect communist teachings, or organizations labeled communist by the Department of Justice, she may be a communist.
They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop.
If a person defends the activities of communist nations while consistently attacking the domestic and foreign policy of the United States,
yes,
she may be a communist.
And yeah, I am a radical.
If a person does all these things over a period of time,
I will snatch their patent.
He must be a communist.
He wanted the National Guard, and what does that mean?
550 Minnesota soldiers who are leaving for a 10-month-long deployment to the Middle East.
This is great. We're going to have massively trained troops. No, you're going to have 19-year-olds who are cooks.
They're part of one of the largest deployments for the Minnesota National Guard in recent years.
We're going to have massively trained troops. No, you're going to have 19-year-olds who are cooks. 19-year-olds who are cooks. Year-olds who are cooks.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute. There, that's better.
President Trump and Republicans are railing against Governor Tim Walz, and the House Oversight Committee, which has launched its own investigation into the fraud, is now requesting documents, records, and communications from both Walz and State Attorney General Keith Ellison after reports they and other state officials may have been warned and ignored those warnings, allowing this fraud to happen.
The state employees in Minnesota rang the bell, they blew the whistle that there was massive fraud, and yet Tim Walz and Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, apparently turned a blind eye to that for fear of political retaliation from the large voting bloc of Somalis.
Yeah, close to 80,000 Somalis live in Minnesota. They have become a powerful voting bloc for Democrats. But there are now multiple federal investigations into this fraud. Folks close to those cases tell us that what we've seen so far may be just the tip of the iceberg.
I do want to ask you about the fraud scandal. I mean, because the president's comments seem at least in part fueled by, or he's talking about this fraud scandal that we mentioned earlier involving that charity called Feeding Our Future. The vast majority of these 70 defendants charged in the case were Somali. For perspective, those are nearly 80,000 Somalis in the state. How much, critics have said that state officials, including you and the governor, did not act fast enough or quickly enough to investigate charges of fraud against the Feeding Our Future and did little to flag their allegations to federal authorities. I know you said it was the federal government that didn't move fast enough. Is there something you wish you had done differently?
No. This is a sick Negro.
When Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who's become the face of the Somali community in Minnesota, was asked why the fraud got so out of control, she said this.
I think what happened is that, when you have these kind of new programs that are designed to help people, you're oftentimes relying on third parties to be able to facilitate. And I just think that a lot of the COVID programs that were set up, they were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created.
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries too. I can say it about other countries too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.